Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2024 release Longlegs. Finally, I have seen Longlegs. This is a film I really badly wanted to see, but I was waiting for the price to drop for digital rental through Fandango at home, and it finally did. It finally just hit $10.59 for a rental. That's with tax, obviously, and so check it out. Although, honestly, I think I might need to own this one, along with also finally purchasing Black Coat's Daughter, also by Oz Perkins. But yeah, I'm late to the game, but hey, I'm just going to tell you about what I really liked about this film. But first off, do me a favor, hit subscribe to the channel if you want to support me. Thumbs up on the video to help with the algorithm. You can hit the notification bell button if you want to know when I'm putting up new videos. And I also have some memberships available if you're interested in that. Link in the description. But anyway, Longlegs, written and directed by Oz Perkins, or Osgood Perkins. Yes, relation to the Perkins of Psycho fame. Also did I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, The Black Coat's Daughter, and Gretel and Hansel. The only one of those movies I wasn't, like, wowed by was I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, but even then it was solid. The other films of his, wowed by. Really love them. And Longlegs, this is actually one that I want to rewatch, and actually I think I've talked my wife into watching it with me on my rewatch, so fingers crossed on that one, guys. Nicolas Cage has said that he will not play another character like this because he doesn't like violence. Although I will say that his performance in this film is so much fun if you're a horror fan. For other people who aren't necessarily always horror fans, it's very creepy. He does a very effective job at what this character is supposed to be, but you also have those flashes of unapologetically Nick Cage where there's like some mini freak out scenes or just the acting style just coming right through the makeup and just being like, yes, this is quintessential Nick Cage, but also still doing this character. So I just love that about that character. Again, Fandango at home rental for $10.59. Synopsis. I don't want to give you too much because you shouldn't know too much about this film going into it. But it is basically about a relatively new, I believe, FBI agent who's trying to track down the serial killer that they have dubbed Longlegs, who is going around and killing entire families. So it's very procedural in that sense. It's very much like a crime investigation type movie. Feels a lot like Silence of the Lambs, but is very different than Silence of the Lambs at the same time. But if you like the feel of Silence of the Lambs and that type of like investigative type story that's also horror, then you probably will have a good time with this film. Not 100% sure how you will like the ending, though. That's the big thing. For me, what I've found when people talk about this film is that what is dividing people the most is the ending of the film, where they ultimately take it. Now, I personally really liked where they took it because I think it is unique and interesting, and that's what I'm really looking for with films like this. I don't just want a rehash of something like Silence of the Lambs, and this is not that. So that's all the information I'm going to give you, and it's worth watching. I'm just going to tell you that. The opening scene is interesting because it's shot like it's the shape of old school slides. You know, like people would do like their vacation slides like way back in the day. I'm only talking to a certain demographic here at this point. But it's like, you know, a smaller size with like rounded edges instead of like an actual 90-degree angle point. Very interesting. It gives you an idea of the time period, basically. So I like that kind of shape of the film, giving you an idea that, oh, this is a time period. I also have a theory on another reason why they did it that way, but I won't say that because if you want to know, you can ask me in the comments. I don't want to say it because it could be a little bit spoilery, honestly, but yeah. But that opening scene, very creepy, sets the mood extremely well for the film, gives you a great idea of what type of stuff you're getting into, but also what Nick Cage's performance is going to be like, because you get Nick Cage in that first scene. And so that is what Nick Cage is going to be like for the entire film. And I saw that, I was just like, man, creepy, enjoyable, I'm in. Let's go. From the get-go, Nicolas Cage is very unsettling as the killer, but also at times you get that Nick Cage freak out. Kind of already talked about that, but yeah. It bears repeating. If you like the Nick Cage, this is a must-see film, in my opinion. A lot of the camera work gives an askew look, which makes you feel like things are off. I really like that about the film. And really good films, really good filmmakers have a tendency to do this stuff where they want to make you feel like things are off, things aren't quite right. And a lot of times they'll do that with the score and with kind of the acting and obviously the overall story. But there's also the aspect of making you see things in a weird way. And there are a lot of kind of camera angles that seem just like a little bit off, or maybe they're leaving like a little bit too much space in the frame, or just like being shot from like a little too far away. You know, that type of stuff that just makes you feel like this just isn't right. And it's so smart because it just gives you that kind of like unsettled off feeling, which adds in with the score and everything else going on with the film. So this film really is an overall very good atmospheric experience. And I know there are a lot of people out there who have kind of reviewed it and said that like that's what they liked about it, was just kind of the atmosphere, and it's maintained throughout the entire film, and they didn't really like the story. I'm here to tell you that I liked all of that. I was a fan of all of it. And yeah, quite great. The score is pretty restrained for the most part, and there are plenty of stints of actually no score at all, which is great for someone like me. I'm a big proponent of dropping the score out and just letting the sound design shine, letting people just feel whatever they're feeling in that moment without trying to grab them by the hand and lead them. And I think it's better for building and maintaining tension, honestly. I really, really do. So I love the fact that Perkins wanted to do that. Also, the composition adds a lot to the film. The composition of the score is very good. It goes along perfectly with the atmosphere that Perkins was looking for this film. Great, great score. It is one of the rare instances where score really sticks out in a horror film. So kudos to who handled that. It's way too dark at many points, unfortunately. So I was watching on my laptop. I really had to crank the brightness, unfortunately. So I would recommend that to people if you're going to watch it like on a TV or laptop. Just crank that brightness because you want to see more. It's pretty dark at times, and excuse me, that's one thing that actually does bother me about this film. And honestly, whenever it's done in any film, that bothers me. Like, people want to see what's on screen. Unless there's some sort of really good reason why people shouldn't be able to see things, I think it's pretty unacceptable to have very dark scenes. Just get your lighting right, basically. It's definitely engaging with how the investigation takes place. I think they do a great job of kind of leaving the breadcrumbs of them figuring things out and, you know, getting pieces of evidence and stuff like that. It's done at good intervals. So therefore, the pacing is quite good in my opinion. And this is a film that's like, I think like 140-ish minutes with credits and everything. So yeah, I mean, pacing is great. There are some pretty intense scenes as well, which obviously you want that for horror films like this, especially for these serial killer type films. It's great to have these intense scenes, especially when they have to do with the violence in the film, gore, stuff like that, which the gore isn't copious. And honestly, I was fine with it. A lot of times with these types of movies, I'll kind of be looking for, let's have a little bit more fun in the gore category, but I didn't really miss it in this film because it was so engaging and interesting. Performances are delivered in a way that feel very flat and low energy, which also kind of adds a little bit to that feeling of things being a little bit off with the film. But I also think that there was another reason for that, which again, I'm not really going to go into because could be a little bit spoilery. So yeah. And it's not all the characters. It's just some characters are kind of flat. The ending has an interesting explanation of everything. That is one of the big things I was really looking for in this film. As it kept going on, I'm like, I don't really know where they're going to go with this in the end. I don't really see a whole lot of options for making it super interesting, but they did. And, you know, obviously there are a lot of people who are saying they didn't really like the ending. It was kind of into them. For me, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was something very different, unique, and makes me want to rewatch the film. That's one of the other things. It's one of those endings that makes me like, okay, now I know that there are things that I've missed in the film, and I want to go back and rewatch it. So with this new context of knowing where it ends, I can watch it in a much different way. So I'm going to do that. And then the last thing I just have was that, yeah, it feels a lot like Silence of the Lambs for a large part of it. But anyway, out of 5 stars, half stars in play. This was quite a good film. I really did enjoy it. I'm going to give it a very good 4 out of 5 star rating. This is, at the moment, definitely in my top 10 for 2024 horror films, but I have a lot more to watch at this point. So we'll see where that ends up. But anyway, thank you everyone for checking this out. Go ahead and put some comments down here. Let's talk about it. Also subscribe, all that stuff. Appreciate that stuff. But thank you for taking your time to watch. And until next time, keep it brutal.